Hi, it's Barbara Glasson here. I'm the president of the Methodist Conference, and I, like you, am stuck at home. As you know, Clive Marsh, the vice president, and I have been talking about stories and storytelling, and want us to think about weaving a story and spinning a yarn. And so to do this, I'm going to show you how to spin. Here is some wool from a sheep. From a pink sheep. We have pink sheep around here, and the first thing you have to do when you're spinning is you have to take out the bits. So like with a story, you've got to decide which bits you're going to put in and which bits you're going to take out, and that's perhaps the hardest bit of writing something, deciding what's in the story and what's going to be thrown away. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to comb the wool because it's full of knots and tangles, a bit like the kids' hair in the morning. Fortunately, the wool doesn't complain quite as much as the kids, especially if you brush their hair like this. And like with the story, we have to decide how we're going to order things, how we're going to tell a narrative. And stories take quite a lot of sorting out. And we know this if we listen to people's stories. They don't necessarily come out all sorted out. People often sort their stories out as they're telling them. And so one of the important things, I think, is to be able to listen to people whilst they are sorting out what they think. And it takes time and quite a bit of patience, because actually this pink sheep, it's a bit full of prickles. It must have been near a hedge, I think. So we're ending up with something that looks vaguely like candy floss, but it needs a bit of work yet. So here's the thing we made earlier. It's called a rolag, if you want the technical term. It's this ball of cotton woolly stuff, this candy floss, pink. And here's the spinning wheel. I think you can see that. And you can see the bobbin. It's going to start spinning round, and the wheel is going to put the spin into this yarn. So I'm going to do theology at the same time. But first of all, let's get this going. So, the idea of making wool yarn is that you're making something long and thin, but it's also got lots of twists and turns to it. And that is really very much how a story goes. It goes from beginning to end, but it also has twists and turns in it. And you kind of have to believe in the process. This doesn't happen easily. We have to work at it. There's been a lot of trial and error teaching Barbara how to spin. But let's for a moment think about that story Jesus told when he looked at the flowers and the lilies in the field, and he said, they neither sow nor spin, but surely Solomon in all his glory is not arrayed like one of these. What's going on in this story is an interesting combination of things. First of all, Jesus must have known about spinning. So I wonder, did his mum spin? Did his auntie spin? Were there people in the village that were spinning? He knew about spinning. And so there's a whole backstory there to the story that Jesus is telling. So his experience is coming into it. But then, of course, he refers to Solomon. And Solomon is part of his tradition and also part of his scriptures. So reference to Solomon would trigger a whole load of other references in people's minds. Solomon in all his glory. He was so splendidly dressed. He so adorned the temple with jewels and fine things. People would know that Solomon, the reference to Solomon, was about riches and finery in a way that immediately triggered another story in their minds. And then, of course, this story refers to something else again. It refers to the natural world. It refers to what Jesus can see around him. Just like the stories of Jesus, our personal stories have lots of different dimensions to them, lots of different strands. Some of them are loose ends, others are woven into the tapestry of our lives. I hope as a Christian community we can begin to listen to each other well, listen to each other in 3 dimensions, and begin to hear the different aspects of stories that people are telling. to be aware of the things that are cut out or discarded, and people that feel cut out and discarded, and also to be able to value where God is at work, even if people are not saying that out loud, to be able to hear the work of the Spirit in people's lives. Just so we complete the story of this particular spinning, here is some I made earlier, slightly less bumpy than the one you saw me making right now. And here's some weaving, using the pink, but also some grey. The grey is from some Derbyshire sheep, so it's greetings to wherever you are at home from Derbyshire, in the hope that we will meet up again soon.